Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Miranda, or Chicky. Join us as we explore the largest and northernmost state in the U.S., Alaska.
In this episode, we disembark our cruise and head into the interior of Alaska as part of a cruise land package.
We visit glaciers and an animal refuge before summer hiking in Alaska's premier ski resort.
We live the life of luxury in some of Alaska's most beautiful resorts and board a scenic flight to the highest mountain in North America, landing on one of its biggest glaciers.
Boarding the McKinley Explorer, we take a unique look at the world-famous Denali National Park, spotting wildlife and viewing the high peaks from the glass dome roof. Followed by a sunrise safari in the park, getting up close to its most well-known inhabitants.
Hiking in Denali, we visit pristine lakes along with the famous Denali Sled dog kennel for a demonstration.
This episode is jam-packed with adventure, and there's plenty more to come, so join us on Global Travel Stories.
It's the final day on our cruise and our final day in southeast Alaska. We're here in Whittier, which is known as the wettest city in the USA. Didn't know that. Look at this weather right now. Absolutely beautiful. Set in a stunning location, but there is a whole lot to do in town because there's one building, that one over there, and that's where this whole town's entire population lives. It's called the Baggage Tower, I think, something like that, but that's Whittier. But we're not going to stay around in Whittier, are we, Miranda?
No, we're heading to Alyeska with a few stops along the way. We're going to do the Portage Glacier cruise, which I heard is outstanding, and then we're also going to the Alaska Wildlife Center, and I believe it's a rehabilitation center and focuses on conservation. So that's right up our alley. So we'll enjoy it. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So here we're going to start our land portion of Alaska.
Through Holland America, we had booked a 14-day Double Denali cruise and land package, which included 7 days land touring in Alaska. So our guide, Brett, was just saying that we're about to go through the longest tunnel in North America. Here on Portage Lake, we're about to go out and see the Portage Glacier out there. Now, if you were out here in 1910, there would not have been a cruise that we're about to go on because this whole lake here would have been part of the same glacier. In fact, the temperatures have been warming up at record numbers, and in the last 9 years, they've had 5 years of record temperature highs. So these glaciers are actually retreating really, really quickly. So it is a bit of an honor to get out here and see them. This is the ptarmigan that we're about to board. So 22 years ago, in the year 2000, this glacier here actually covered this bedrock right over here. It's crazy to see how far it's receded back in just 22 years.
Conservation Center, and we've got about an hour to roam around and look at all the cool animals.
All the cool animals we're going to see in the wild. So this doesn't really count, but we're still going to check them out anyway. And it is a conservation place, so they're looking after the animals, I assume.
The Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center is a non-profit sanctuary dedicated to preserving Alaska's wildlife through research, education, and conservation. Most of the animals that have come here have either been injured or orphaned. The center houses these animals in over 200 acres of large habitats where the animals can roam and display natural behavior.
So we've seen a few key animals already. We saw the black bear, we've seen the brown bear and the grizzlies. Well, brown bear are the grizzlies. We're just being fed, and we also saw the wood bison, which have just been restored in Alaska in the last 20 years. They were restored because the populations of not just wood bison, but also plain bisons were almost completely wiped out in North America, pretty much within a decade in the late 1800s when the fur traders came through and shot them by the thousands each day. So they went from a population of about 300 million to basically nothing in less than a decade, which is really, really sad. So it's good to see these restoration projects are working out, and hopefully one day we'll have bison roaming through the woods and plains here like we once did, in numbers that we once saw. So something I didn't actually know is these guys here, the Musk Ox, were actually completely wiped out to extinction by the end of the 1800s here in Alaska. And the current population of Musk Ox that we do have in the area were actually reinstalled and captured from Greenland.
After admiring the animals of the Alaskan tundra, we made our way nearby to our accommodation for the evening.
So we're living in luxury right now. Where are we, Miranda?
We're at the Alyeska Resort. Apparently the only 4-star resort in all of Alaska.
That's right. So we actually have, over the next few days, some of the best resorts in the area. We booked as a package because, to be honest, Alaska was really expensive when we looked at doing it on our own, and even car rental was several $100 US per day. So we figured, hey, let's just do a cruise attachment, and looked at the places we're staying, and pretty good value for money considering where we're staying.
And living in luxury.
That's it. So this is going to be the luxurious part of our trip. That and the cruise, of course. This is our view.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, so we are heading up to the aerial tramway in Alyeska, and we're heading to the top of the ski resort, and we've got with us Brett over here.
Hey, how's it going?
So Brett is actually our tour guide, so any interesting information I give over the next couple of days probably comes from this man here. I can't take all the credit for that. Alyeska, and correct me if I'm wrong, is probably the premier ski resort in Alaska, is that right?
It is, yep.
Yeah, so it's the biggest one in Alaska, or the most well-known one. So we're going to hike up to the tramway, and one of the cool things you can do is actually get the tram down for free if you hike up to the top. As you can see, it's a beautiful sunny day. So I don't know what sort of views we're going to get from the top, but we're only here for a day and we're going to make the most of it. So let's do it. All right, there's the top. How are the views, guys? Pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
It was an arduous hike. It's been pretty steep for most of it, sweating a fair bit. We actually took the wrong route. We led to the same spot, but it's just been way more steep as opposed to the sort of long way that goes right around. But hey, it's good to work off all that cruise food that we've been eating for the last week. All right, let's go celebrate up top. So we've made it to the top of the tramway, and we actually saw a few people walking a little further up there, so let's go to the top, yeah? Woo, sound cool?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we've pretty much made it up as far as we can go, at least as far as the trail goes, and I'm sure if it was a clearer day we could probably find a path up through into what we can now see as clouds. But we have this really interesting cirque in the background here, and Brett and I were just discussing that there most likely would have been a glacier up here probably in the last couple of hundred years. A lot of them have, as I mentioned before, melted off in more recent years and are continuing to melt. Brett was actually saying that this is the lowest, did you say the lowest
Elevation ski resort.
in the world or in
world.
In the world, yeah. What would you say it was at?
250 feet above sea level.
250 feet above sea level. That's crazy. Well, it just sort of shows what sort of latitude we're at too, you know. We looked out our window last night, it was like 11:30 and you could still see, you know, some light outside. It's just crazy this time of the year. The midnight sun. Looking forward to that when we get up north. So we are about to take the tram back down to the Alyeska Hotel.
We have a gaggle of teenagers in there.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So we're in downtown Anchorage and we're about to go into the Glacier Brew House, which has been recommended to us by Brett as one of the coolest places to dine downtown. So we're gonna pop in here, have something to eat, and maybe some beer as well. All right, so it's 11 a.m. and I'm having my first beer. This one here is a raspberry wheat, and I just tried the key lime wheat as well. They've got some really interesting ones. And Miranda, what do you have there?
I've got a blackberry basil lemonade.
There you go, blackberry basil. Cool. Let's look at these pizzas when they come out, hey? Brick oven pizzas and the chili lime shrimp salad with mandarin and pineapple and all sorts of cool stuff.
And caramelized pecans.
Caramelized pecans. Miranda, how's the pizza? I haven't even tried it. Good?
I like it, yeah.
Ever wondered what the tallest building in Alaska looks like? It's the ConocoPhillips building here. 296 feet tall. 22 stories. Not really a skyscraper by most global city standards, but that's the tallest building in Alaska right there. Alrighty, so we are at our next destination, which is the McKinley Princess Lodge.
Yes.
Right outside of Talkeetna. We are being spoiled, aren't we, Miranda?
We are so spoiled. We don't feel fancy enough for all these lodges.
We're too young for this sort of stuff. We did get some glimpses of Mount Denali, which is the highest mountain in North America. It's just still beyond the clouds. So we had some little glimpses along the way, but not quite. And we also glimpsed a moose as well. So one of the surprises we've got in store is actually the most expensive detour we've ever booked in our whole lives. By far, right?
Oh, by far.
It's pretty much the cost of like half our Alaskan cruise. It's going to be an expensive day trip, but we just spoke to Brett, our guide, and he was just saying that the weather tomorrow is supposed to be the best weather they've had in a long time, because they've basically had wildfires this whole summer and the smoke's been filling the skies. So yeah, it looks like that tomorrow is the day, and that's the day we're booked on. It's the only day we can do this, and it's going to be, hopefully, I'm pretty sure it will be.
So far, it looks like the perfect day. So we'll see. You never know in the mountains.
Exactly.
Walking the grounds of the Mount McKinley Princess Wilderness Lodge was such a pleasure. From manicured gardens with wildlife sculptures and the chance to see real wildlife being an exhilarating experience. We are happy, however, to settle with glimpses of North America's highest mountain.
Okay, so we're heading up to the treehouse right now to get some ultimate shots of the mountain.
Right behind me here is Mount Denali, the tallest mountain in all of North America, and it stands at a staggering 20,310 feet, or 6,119 meters.
So it's our last night with Brett here, and we're celebrating with a feast of sorts. So we got the Mega Mac.
Got like a shrimp, spinach, and artichoke dip in
That's
a
huge.
sour bread bowl.
I am going to get some of that for sure.
Sourdough bread.
And this is the heart attack right here. What have I got on this, Brett? You can...
Okay, so you got caribou, that's the more sausage looking, and then you have the reindeer, which is the cut ones, and then there should be bison somewhere in there as well. So you got the three meats.
And explain what's the difference between caribou and reindeer.
Okay, so a caribou is the wild version of a reindeer, and reindeer can fly, of course. So.
Ah, that's the difference. I hope this doesn't fly off my plate. Oh. With the sun setting over Mount Denali, we had the perfect opportunity to ponder our adventure the following day. Today's the big day, Chicky.
Yay!
Excited?
So excited.
Not going to tell them what we're doing yet.
It's gonna be cool.
It's going to be cool. Surprise!
So we are flying with Air Talkeetna, or Talkeetna Air Taxi, doing the Grand Denali tour, flying around Denali and doing a glacier landing, so overall 2 hours.
Landing on the highest mountain in North America. That's pretty impressive. That's definitely a bucket list item, so this is going to be a pretty amazing experience. We're really looking forward to this. Excited?
So excited.
The tallest mountain in America has long been called Denali, or the Great One, by natives. Denali's name had also been known as Mount McKinley due to a historical fluke. In 1896, a gold prospector who had visited Alaska wanted to name the peak after William McKinley, who was running for president on a platform that included linking American currency to the value of gold.
William McKinley never visited Alaska and has no connection to the mountain. However, somehow the name stuck and made its way into maps. The government formally recognized the name in 1917, and efforts from Alaskan politicians to reverse the name change began in 1975. A compromise was reached in 1980. The national park surrounding it was named Denali National Park and Preserve, but the mountain's name remained as Mount McKinley.
In 2016, on the eve of the National Park Service's 100th anniversary, the name of the highest peak in North America changed from Mount McKinley to Denali. For the natives who have lived in the region for centuries, Denali is more than just a name. It holds spiritual significance in the creation myth of the Co-Yukon Athabascans.
Their story revolves around a powerful man named Yahoo, who was being chased by the Raven Chief for taking his daughter to be his wife. Yahoo was being pursued in a canoe as the Raven Chief summoned a storm to take down Yahoo with giant waves. Yahoo was able to turn these giant waves into stone. The largest of the stone waves deflected the spear of the Raven Chief and allowed Yahoo to escape. This was known as the Great One, Denali. From above, the story is easy to ponder as rivers of glacial ice flow down from jagged peaks like water on large rolling waves.
Dwarfed in the vastness of endless giant peaks of rock and ice, for a moment, time stands still before we descend onto the Ruth Glacier.
So how was that flight?
Oh my god, I had my mouth open the whole time, just in complete awe of how stunning this place is.
So we're on the Ruth Glacier right now, which is on the eastern slope of Denali, and we're on about 10 feet of snow and about 1,000 feet of ice beneath that. So it's kind of crazy. There are all these crevasses around as well, so we have to sort of keep close. But yeah, pretty spectacular. We're on Denali. How cool is that?
So great.
Glacier is located approximately 3 vertical miles below the summit of Denali. The glacier itself is 10 miles long, 1 mile wide, and surrounded by 2-mile-high granite mountains. This is known as the Great Gorge, whose height exceeds the Grand Canyon.
After a perfect morning spent on North America's highest mountain, we returned to the quaint town of Talkeetna with just enough time to explore a little.
Alrighty, Chicky, where are we?
We are in the little town of Talkeetna.
Cool, and we're just going to have a little walk around Talkeetna, and then what are we doing?
Then we are boarding the rail and heading straight to Denali National Park.
It's supposed to be a very famous scenic rail as well, so we'll enjoy that journey. But Talkeetna, it looks like a really cute little quaint Alaskan town. quintessential stops in Talkeetna is Shirley's Ice Cream. What have we got there, Miranda?
So we've got their famous fireweed ice cream, and we've also got blueberry flavored, which is also delicious.
So fireweed is something you see a lot of here in Alaska, especially this time of the year. It's like the purple flowers that you see sort of growing on the sides of the roads and in the forest. It's really cool. McKinley Explorer. First impressions, Miranda?
Awesome. There's a dome roof, so you can see all around.
That is pretty cool.
McKinley Explorer runs from Anchorage to Fairbanks daily and contains large curved glass dome windows which run the full length of the car, offering stunning 360-degree views throughout the entire journey. In 1984, a company called Tour Alaska were the first to start these Superdome train cars for tourism. This started a trend, and today there are over 25 custom-built full dome rail cars in use.
It's full of luxury. So where are we, Miranda?
McKinley Chalet Resort.
And where is that located?
Denali National Park.
Oh my god.
Oh, there's the mountains.
Those are mountains.
The following morning, we awoke before dawn for our Tundra Wilderness Tour in Denali National Park. We were anxiously excited about the possibilities of what wildlife we could spot in the early hours while most of the park's visitors were sleeping.
It wasn't too long before we spotted our first female moose grazing in the wetlands. With very poor eyesight, she had no idea that we were watching. As the largest members of the deer family, female moose tend to be much smaller than males, which are generally identified by their large antlers. Females also tend to be less aggressive and less protecting young calves.
So we've woken up bright and early for our Tundra Wilderness Tour in Denali National Park, and so far it has been absolutely stunning. So the tour left at 5 a.m. We've already seen hawk owls, are they called?
Hawk owls.
Moose.
Yep, moose.
Denali is the clearest that we've seen it, and it's the third day in the row that we saw Denali.
The mountain.
Which is amazing.
The highest peak in North America.
And the colors are stunning.
Oh, the colors are amazing. Yeah, best time of the day to go, honestly.
So cool.
So behind me here is the Talkeetna River, which is actually known as a braided river due to the way the streams resemble hair braids. It's comprised of permafrost melt and glacial snow melt. Not so much rainfall because most of the rain actually falls on Denali itself when the hot air rises up and then condenses and falls down on the mountain. So we are technically sitting in the shadow of Denali, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we're going to explore a bit more of the tundra.
We stopped to admire grazing caribou on the hillside. Once numbering around 20,000, Denali's caribou herd has greatly fluctuated in the last century and is now down to about 1,700 caribou. They live exclusively within the park's boundaries where they are now protected.
What's the difference between a caribou and a reindeer?
Reindeer flies.
Reindeer is actually domesticated caribou.
Due to a landslide in Polychrome Pass, west of mile 43, the Denali Wilderness Tour can now only cover 43 miles of the 92-mile road. There are plans to build a permanent bridge over the area. However, until that happens, the road will remain blocked.
Finally, we saw our first grizzly bear, which was our number 3 of the Alaska Big Five. There are over 350 grizzly bears that roam Denali National Park. Due to this abundance, Denali National Park is one of the best places in the USA to spot grizzly bears. As there are limited amounts of food within the tundra, grizzly bears have been known to regulate their own population when numbers become too high and competition for resources becomes difficult. Due to this and hunting restrictions within the park, grizzly populations stay fairly stable and in balance with their ecosystem.
Okay, so we're in the Denali National Park Visitor Center, getting a lot of information before we start our hikes.
The Visitor Center had some great displays and information about the park's ecology and First Nations history.
So right now we are on the Horseshoe Lake Trail, which should take about 1.5 hours. After that, we are going to take a shuttle down to the dog sledding show, which should be quite cool. And then hopefully, if the weather's still fine, we'll go on another hike called the Rock Creek Trail, which also meets up with the Meadows View Trail. And we'll try and link up trails that way. Anyways, lots of walking.
Lots of trails.
Yeah.
I think the weather's gonna be good. So Miranda, how many bears did we see today?
We saw 2 grizzly bears, which is 2 more than I thought we would see, so I am absolutely stoked about that. And not only did we see grizzly bears, we saw caribou, we saw owls. We saw
Saw a lot of stuff. But look, the main reason why I bring up bears is because we are in bear country right now, and it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit about bear safety. Now, in Canada, we were pretty good with our bear safety. We carried around bells, we carried around bear spray. Well, we had to leave some of that stuff behind, particularly the bear spray, and we kind of gave away the bell to my friend. One of the things they say around here is that don't pack food. Now, we did pack some food, but luckily for us, our food is all sealed, so I don't think the bears can smell through sealed packaging. Can't guarantee that, but that's one of the things they advise. The other thing, the main thing that they say not to do if you ever come across a grizzly bear is run, because then that puts in their hunting instincts, and then they start to go for the chase, the predatory instincts. So you always sort of speak calmly, slowly, back away very, very slowly. Luckily, we're on a populated trail, and it's quite close to the visitor center, so we're very, very unlikely to come across these animals, but I thought this might be well worth mentioning. And the main thing you gotta watch out for here isn't the bears.
the moose.
The moose. The moose are the most dangerous animals in the national park. Only one bear death in the history of this national park. So this dam here was actually created by beavers. God, the amount of work that goes into these sort of things. And the ponds that they create provide food and homes for other species, such as fish and waterfowl, shorebirds, mink, muskrats. So a lot of people, when they think of glacial rivers, they think of these pristine, crystal clear rivers like you'd see on your water bottle. But in actual fact, what we have over here is what a glacial river looks like. So it's kind of like this murky, grayish, almost brownish color, and what that is comprised of is known as glacial silt or glacial flour. The name glacial flour comes because the consistency of the silt in the river is kind of like flour that you'd bake bread with, for example. The reason why it has this silt in it is because the glaciers that the source of the water originates from actually grind up against the stones. And when they grind up against the stones, they release all this rock flour that comes down and washes through the river itself. So we see a lot of signs of the beavers around here. As you can see, they've chopped right into the tree. Look at all these ones that have been felled around here.
Very busy.
Busy as a beaver. All right, Miranda, where are we?
We are at the kennel.
Sled dog kennel. We're going to see
Sled dogs.
some sled dogs. Miranda's been looking forward to this because she thinks dogs are, what?
Cute.
Cute? Adorable?
Adorable.
Too good for this world?
Too good for this world, absolutely.
We're going to see some really adorable huskies right now. Alrighty, so that was pretty interesting, wasn't it, Chicky?
Yeah, pretty cool.
learn a little bit about the sled dogs in the national parks and their importance. In fact, this national park here, Denali National Park, is the only one in the USA that has their own official sled dogs, which is pretty cool, and always has. So even since the formation of the national park itself back in the early 1900s, they had sled dogs pretty much patrolling the area, trying to set the boundaries for the national park. And they typically are used in the winter time, so for transportation, because all the roads completely snowed over. So to get to any locations in the winter, they need those sled dogs to do so. We are currently on the Rock Creek Trail, which is 2.4 miles or 3.8 kilometers. Going to take us about an hour and a half, I assume. Well, that's at least what the sign said. Back to the visitor center, so we'll check that out. Maybe even see the meadows on the way.
That'd be cool.
See what's in the meadows. It's actually quite warm earlier on today. Reached almost 25 degrees Celsius, which is roughly about 80 Fahrenheit. I know that doesn't sound like it's significantly warm for a summer temperature, but we are not too far from the Arctic, so it is very, very much unusually warm. In fact, they've had so many problems with wildfires over this season and previous seasons. So you'll see around me here a mixture of birch trees and also the native spruce, which is the most dominant type of tree we have in the region. And a lot of these spruce trees you can see are kind of dying out. In fact, yesterday when we were on the train, we saw huge clumps of just dead spruce trees. And one of the other issues of climate change is the fact that the spruce beetle, which has plagued much of the southern half of North America, is actually making its way further north. So typically the cold weather here staves that off, but because the summers and even the winters are getting warmer and warmer, they're starting to survive much further north, and they're taking out huge areas of these types of forests. You can see here, so it is quite devastating to see. And yesterday when they were talking a little bit about it on the train, they were saying that they don't really have a solution to the problem. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. So that's quite sad to hear about. Great. I can see why the bears like these. They're very good. So we just crossed over the meadow trail and we've got some, they're either ptarmigan or grouse, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's the state bird, is that right?
Yeah.
The ptarmigan. It's pretty awesome though. How's the meadow trail so far, Chicky?
Oh, it's beautiful.
What did the ranger say when she recommended it?
She's like, you cannot come through my backyard without going on this trail.
Pretty charismatic, actually. Don't you be coming in my backyard without going through that trail. So we did. That was awesome. Cool.
Yeah,
and great views. So it's been really cool.
Distracted by the movements of the ptarmigan, we barely had time to consider the journey ahead. Our day in the Denali National Park was full of adventures that we will never forget.
Moving forward in our next episode, we head to the northernmost city of Fairbanks and learn during a hands-on approach about the mining history of the town, followed by a visit to a First Nations village. We head back to the coast and visit potentially the most beautiful part of the state on the Kenai Peninsula, viewing tidewater glaciers, fjords, and abundant wildlife, followed by an epic hike to the region's largest ice field. We finish our time in Alaska with an unexpected extended stay in Anchorage.
Alrighty, Chicky, where are we? Prospectors. Already had some great beer and now it's time for some great pizzas. Let's do it.
Join us for these adventures and more with Global Travel Stories.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed our content, please like and subscribe.
And we'd love if you could leave us a comment letting us know what you've enjoyed or what you'd like to see more of.
And help us grow our channel. Become part of the Global Travel Stories family by sharing with friends, family, or anyone you think would enjoy our content. Thanks, guys.